Look at my massive coffee. Perfect vibes for the coffee and the books. This is huge. Hi guys, welcome back to another video and welcome to another video for the book club. Welcome to the book club. If you are new here, you haven't been around for a while, I started a little book club on my YouTube. I'm trying to like figure out what it's gonna be. I'm trying to decide if I should do like monthly book club videos with you guys and like I post a book club video and then you guys like read with me. Let me know if that's something you'd be interested in. I currently have a book club with some friends, but I feel like I would love to do that with you guys. I don't know if it would be something like we pick it in advance, like maybe the month before, and then you know what we could do? We could do like, I'll film like a book club video and then in that same video, like at the end, we'll pick a new book and you guys can like, as we go, maybe comment them down below or we'll do like a vote in the polls so you guys can keep up with it because I've really wanted to like put more videos in this like book club collection. The book club videos are anything book related, okay? So like this video is all the books I've read up until this point in the year. I don't know what the title is gonna be, but I have like 25 books that we're gonna talk about, tell you how I rated them. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you have any ideas, something you'd want to do, but I know I have like a little book community on this YouTube because I have posted book videos before. So those are my thoughts here. I think for this video, I'm just going to talk about all the books that I've read up until this point in the year. White little background here because I'm going to pop the book and my rating on the screen here as we talk about them. I was thinking of separating them into categories like romance, fantasy, thriller. If you would like me to do that in the next video, which will probably be towards the end of the year, January time, because I'm thinking, here's what I was thinking. I was either going to do like quarterly book videos, all the books I read in a quarter. That's like 15 books, 25 right around there, 23, 25 will be in this video. So I could do them like twice a year. I could do them 4 times a year. Let me know your thoughts. I'm a reader for sure, but I'm not one of those people who's reading like 15 books in a month. It's just not realistic for me. I work full time. I'm trying to do YouTube as well full time. Lots is happening. Maintaining a social life, maintaining a relationship, working out. Like I just don't have time for that many books. I wish I did, but I am doing my own version of it for like us like average paced readers here. I think I'm like an average pace. I don't think I read slow by any means, but I don't think I'm reading like very fast either, or else I'd be reading more. So welcome to it. If that sounds like something you're interested in, subscribe. Stick around. Let's get into it. I think I'm just going to talk about the books I've read in order of how I read them throughout the month. So January to July, or January through June. I'll do 6 months and then the next one will be 6 months, and then after that, if you think I should do it quarterly, let me know. Sitting in front of my bookshelf because, hello, favorite books are on display. Akatar and Throne of Glass, like duh. And then Tyron's books are here as well. When I ordered this bookshelf, I thought it was gonna be bigger and it only had room to fit like a few of my books, not all of them. Let's get into it. I have a good mix here between fantasy, between rom-coms, like romance books. I have like a few, actually no, I think I don't even know if I have any thrillers the first 6 months. I didn't get too creative and like branch out in the genres. I really didn't at all. I think I have like 1 historical fiction book in there. Towards the end of the year, I'm gonna be experimenting a little more with books, but at the beginning, you'll see I had so many specific like series and a lot of like fantasy heavy books that like came out at the beginning of the year or that I was reading. So let's get into it. I did create a note on my phone. Sorry if there was a quick angle change. I had to erase. My SD card filled up, so here we are. So I started a notes app at the beginning of the year of all the books I read, and I put like a little star next to them for my rating. It's been a while since I've read some of these books. This is from January to June, so let's talk all about them. So first and foremost, the first 3 books of the year, the Caraval series. So Caraval, Legendary, and Finale. I really didn't know like what to think going into these books. I didn't even read the description, but basically it's about a girl named Scarlett and her sister who go into this game called Caraval. Scarlett's always dreamed of going and like playing this game. So mind you, it's a series. So the first book follows Scarlett and then the other book follows her sister. Very like mind fucking in a way because like there were times where I was like, is this real? The whole thing is don't forget when you're in the game, nothing is real. Definitely like a little mind fuckery of a game. And then it went into the second book with her sister following Donatella. The second book, so the first book I rated 4 stars, Caraval. The second book, Legendary, I rated 4.5. I loved it. It was my favorite. I loved following Donatella, I think, better in her story, her love story as well. I love the magical elements of Caraval. It's so magical. It's like a carnival theme in a way. The magical elements in the book and the outfits and like the carnival theme, and it was really cool. Really fun book to read to start the year. I rated the series overall like 4 stars. The last book, Finale, I rated 4 stars. So overall I rated the series like a 4 stars. It wasn't my favorite like by any means, but it was definitely good, and I would read that as a prequel to the Once Upon a Broken Heart series, which I did read later in the month, which we'll talk about, but that is like the first few books. Certain characters pop up in that other series. Next, Iron Flame. Guys, I'm waiting for the 3rd book to come out of this. I am so impatiently waiting. I remember when Iron Flame came out in November and everybody was like all over it. I waited till January to read it because I was reading the Throne of Glass series and Crescent City. Oh my gosh. Are we kidding with Iron Flame? Those two needed to get their fucking shit together, first and foremost. Plot twist, kind of expected it. Basically, if you're unfamiliar, Iron Flame is the 2nd book to the Fourth Wing series. We're in the middle of it right now. There's more books coming out to it. But basically, it follows a girl named Violet Sorrengail, and she is entering the Riders Quadrant of her, like, college, basically. Think of it as if it's like Divergent and Hunger Games, like with sassy dragons mixed in, because like Divergent had like all the 5 different like factions you would go into. So Fourth Wing has different quadrants you can enter. Riders, scribes, and like etc, etc. There's like 2 other ones. So she basically has to train in order to pass all these tests to become a rider and to match with a dragon. This is the 2nd book to that series. It is so good. The romance. Ooh, enemies to lovers. I am an enemies to lovers girly trope. It's my favorite. It always will be. I love it. But Iron Flame, there were some plot twists. There were so many times where I'm like, these people need to get their fucking shit together. Then I'm thinking, what is going on? Like, what is happening in these books? Little spicy scenes in there too. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I don't know how people didn't like it. I feel like we were introduced to like all new characters in that book, and like it's just Violet in different situations. Other characters, I don't want to spoil it because I don't want anyone to like, I mean, I feel like there's been a lot of hype around it, but if you haven't read it, go read it. February, I read 4 books to start off strong. Oh, I rated Iron Flame 4.8 stars. I didn't rate it 5 because there were just Violet and another specific character were pissing me off, where I'm like, these just need to talk. And it was really agitating me. And there were certain parts that were like, had a little bit of a lull. As we go into February, I'm gonna talk about this as well. But here's the thing that, especially with fantasy, that I think people forget, not every book is gonna be like your 5-star read, because every book has a lot of like, it's like a sandwich, right? The whole sandwich is delicious, but you're gonna have parts of the sandwich that maybe you wouldn't eat on your own, that isn't like your favorite ingredient, but like combined with the rest of the sandwich is so good. That's how a lot of books are in fantasy as well. Like the first book might be amazing, and then like the few middle, like, you need like building time. You need time to build, you need time for details. Like if it's all this exciting things all the time, then those exciting things are gonna seem boring because it's like the same shit all the time. So you need a little bit of like exciting and some lull and some world building and some like new details and some slow points. That's normal. And I think in order to have like a great series, you need all of it. Same thing when people are talking about Throne of Glass and they don't like certain books in the series. I'm like, yeah, but if you didn't have those building blocks, those big things at the end like wouldn't have been as big as they are, or like they wouldn't have felt so significant because of everything that the characters did go through. So just saying, that's how I felt about Iron Flame, and that's also how I felt about the next book that I read this year, which was Crescent City 3. 5 stars. 5 stars. I love Sarah J Maas. Hello, like behind me. Hello, I love her. I need a coffee if I'm gonna start talking about this. A little sip of coffee. This is how I felt about Crescent City 3. So if you're new to Sarah J Maas, I did do like a little introduction, how to read all her books, when I did a Crescent City book club video. Read ACOTAR, I'll link it down below. I'll link all these books down below, and Throne of Glass. Then you read Crescent City. So this is an unfinished series in this SJM universe. Crescent City 3, House of Flame and Shadow. Again, people didn't like this book, and I just like don't understand. First of all, there's a huge plot twist at the end of the second Crescent City book, which I cannot spoil. It will ruin the whole thing for you. I think people thought there were certain characters that were going to be included more in this third book because they really loved those certain characters that they had read about. But in my opinion, it wouldn't have made sense to have them like fully in it. This book, like Crescent City, follows a girl named Bryce Quinlan, and she's in Crescent City. She has to like learn the truth about her city, and so on and so forth, and she like uncovers secrets. Lots of magical elements. Definitely not an intro to fantasy series. Like I said, read ACOTAR, then Throne of Glass, then go to Crescent City. Just trust me on it. I think that if you like jump into Crescent City too fast, it's very uncomfortable because it makes no fucking sense half the time. Like the first book is so hard to get into, but once you're into it, like you're in. House of Flame and Shadow to me was like the sandwich I was talking about earlier. It is that filler book, but there were so many parts of it I think that were so crucial to the story, and I thought it was so good. I was very happy with how it turned out. So it's hard for me to talk about series without spoiling it. I feel like novels and like one-offs I can give like kind of like a brief summary of what it's going to be about. Like romance books I can do that, but I think with fantasy I can't talk too much about them or it will spoil the entire plot for you. This video I'm trying to film, it's not to spoil it, it's to kind of give you like a brief summary of what the book's about and like to tell you how I felt about it, like the rating I give it. We are headed into a big romance like part of the year now. This is the 6th book I read for the year in February, The 7-Year Slip. I rated this book a 4.7. It was so cute. Basically, it's about this girl whose aunt just passed away and she moves into her magic apartment. Her aunt always says how magical her apartment was, and she kind of like travels back in time and then like travels back, so she meets people from the past and then also travels into the present, and it's a romance. I loved it. I thought it was such like a fun, I don't know, a fun twist on a romance. I feel like romance novels for the most part are pretty straightforward. You know what's gonna happen in them, but I feel like with this one it was kind of like you knew what was gonna happen, but like at the same time with all like the little magical elements to it, like it was just so fun. I loved it. I gave it a 4.7. 1,000 Boy Kisses. 1,000 Boy Kisses. If you want to fucking cry, when I first saw this cover, okay, this is why I say don't judge a fucking book by the cover. Don't even judge it by like the little description on the back or like in the cover. I don't even read those half the time because I feel like I know like it's to give like a brief like intro on what the book's about, but like half the time you can't even judge a book by that. Guys, this book, 5 stars for the emotional fucking impact it had on me, okay? The storyline itself, I wouldn't necessarily give a 5 stars, but the way it was written, it was so emotional. I did not expect this. Like I cried the last 30% of the book. We were going to Chicago and I was like on the plane reading this, and then when we were in the hotel I like said to Tyron, I need like 20 minutes to like go cry, thanks. And I was like sobbing over this book. So basically it follows the main character named Poppy. She meets her next door neighbor when they are 5 years old, and it follows their romance throughout their like high school life, which you wouldn't expect, okay, to be like this such emotionally taxing thing. But there is a plot twist. There is a point in the book where it does get like very emotional. It's called 1,000 Boy Kisses because her grandmother gives her this jar and basically tells her to document 1,000 boy kisses that she has in her life. Ones that make her like one of them that like make her heart stop kind of thing. All the kisses that stand out. That is what the book's about. Guys, just go read it. 5 stars, 5 stars. I will, like I said, I'll link everything down below because like, okay. I move into like a nice, like predictable romance book. No magical element, no emotionally impacting the same way. Love theoretically. I rated this a 4.7 because for me it was like a solid romance book. It follows like this physicist named Elise. Elise is this professor who's like trying to just like get through her days basically. She's like making shitty paychecks, and on the side she like fake dates. So that's like her thing. Basically she's like a fake girlfriend to men who like want a girlfriend for like weddings or like family parties and stuff like that. So while Elise is being this like fake girlfriend, she meets the brother of one of the people she's like dating, okay? At the same time, Elise is applying for a job that it's like her dream job. She's gonna make so much money. She's gonna make such an impact in her industry. Let's just say those two worlds of being a fake dater and that job collide. It's very predictable and it's always so good. It's so good. One thing I love about Ali Hazelwood is like in all the books I've read of hers, I've only read like 2 or 3. She adds this like very like this like science element to her books. All her main characters have some kind of job in like the science world. I don't know how to describe it. If you read her books, you'll know what I mean. But like in this one, for example, the girl is a physicist, which is so cool. You're not reading many books about like a main character being a physicist. Like specific verbiage that they would use, really cool touches that just add to the main character and like what she's trying to do. Another romance. 5 stars, 5 stars. Things We Left Behind. This is the 3rd book in a series. So again, I'm trying not to like spoil the series too much, but it's Things We Left Behind. It follows the characters named Sloane and Lucian. This series is the Knockemout series, okay? And so basically it's based in this town called Knockemout, and there are these like 3 boys that have grown up together. 2 of them are brothers, and then another one is their friend. And at some point, they all meet women. And the 3rd book is about Sloane and Lucian. Sloane and Lucian have actually known each other the longest since they were kids. All throughout the first 2 books, they have this like hatred for each other for something that happened in their past, but it's never talked about in the books. Like the other books are about the other main characters, but you always like know in the back of your head, like Sloane and Lucian, like from the jump, like from the first like few chapters of the book, like you know something has happened with them. So the 3rd book follows Sloane and Lucian, and honestly, I think it was my favorite in the entire series. Guys, it was so good. Past love, young love, very good book. It's giving like enemies to lovers, but like originally they weren't enemies kind of thing. And also like I love this book too because this whole series, like lots of like girlhood in it. The girls all become friends. You get to know the characters so well over the 3 books. I feel like they're long books, but all the characters were so detailed. And also the fun part about it, there's always this mystery involved in these books too. Like there's always like something happening behind the scenes. Like they're trying to solve a mystery, they're getting involved somehow. I make it sound like it's like fucking Scooby-Doo. It's not Scooby-Doo, okay? It's like there's a murder or there's like a serial killer and like they're trying to figure out what's going on. Another romance book before we break back into fantasy. I was like on a romance kick, okay? Another young adult romance book as well. Better than the movies. This one was good. I give it a 4. It was kind of like, not boring. It was cute and predictable. You know, it's a young adult, so every time I have a young adult book, I always feel like this where I'm like, oh, there could have been more, but like, yeah, the whole point is it's young adult, so like it follows the main character named Liz, and she is hoping to like land her crush that has just moved back to their hometown. She had a crush on him when she was a child, and now as like a high schooler, she wants this boy. His name is Michael. She wants him. So somehow she ropes her neighbor, which happens to be like her sworn enemy and this guy's best friend, into helping her land this guy. So basically the whole book is about Wes trying to help Liz land Michael. But it's really fun. It's like, it's a cute little enemies to lover. It definitely brings you back to like that high school time. I rated it a 4. It was solid. It wasn't like my favorite book of all time, but like I should have said this in the beginning, my ratings for like fantasy versus romance are completely different because fantasy has very specific elements to it, very complex elements that need to be very clear and also detailed at the same time, whereas like romance book, I just do it based on like how cutesy and good the story is. Okay, we are jumping back over to, like I mentioned in the beginning, fantasy, the Once Upon a Broken Heart series. I'm gonna rate this series overall a 4. First book, Once Upon a Broken Heart, I rated a 4. I thought it was a good little intro to the series. So there's this girl named Evangeline. Her stepsister is about to marry the person that she is in love with, the person that was supposed to be in love with her. So in order to stop this marriage, she goes to the Prince of Hearts and she makes a deal with him to stop this wedding. And that's how everything begins. If you know fantasy, here's the thing. You never make a fucking deal, especially with a fate, any fated anything, any magical creature. No, because it always comes back to bite you in the ass. It's like when you agree to something but don't actually understand the terms and conditions of what you agree to. This is what Evangeline did, okay? She goes and makes a deal with the Prince of Hearts, Jax his name is, in exchange for 3 kisses at the times of his choosing. The first book I rated, okay, a 4. The Ballad of Never After, a 4.5. The third book, A Curse for True Love, I rated it a 3.5. This book fucking pissed me off, okay? Pissed me off. The whole series I rated 4. I thought it was really good. I liked it better than the Caraval series. However, the last book in the series, you will hear me talk about it again. There is this like plot line that authors do, and I hate it. It is when, I'm not going to spoil the whole series, but there was major plot twists in it, and I love a good plot twist. So I don't want to speak too much again on this series because I don't want to spoil it, because it's a fantasy series and I will spoil it. But you have friendship, you have romance, you have magic, all my favorite things combined. You have enemies, you have lovers. Moving on. I started A Good Girl's Guide to Murder series, another 3-book series. This series I rated about a 4. So A Good Girl's Guide to Murder follows the main character. Her name is Pip. This is like a young adult murder mystery series. She's doing a school project and she decides to look into the murders that happened like 5 years ago in her small town in Connecticut. This murder happened to be of the most popular kids in school. 2 people died, and so she is going to like investigate. She's gonna, as if she was like a police officer or an FBI agent, basically. It's her school project, but she like takes it seriously. Pip discovers lots of secrets about this murder and uncovers, she finds out a lot of new things that they did not discover when they originally were solving this crime. Overall, I liked it. For some reason, the 3rd book took me so long to get into. I don't know why. So I rated the series overall 4, because at the end, now looking back, I actually did enjoy it. I did thoroughly enjoy it. I did go through it pretty quickly, except for that 3rd book. But then we move into my first book club books of the year. So we started a book club in, when was it? April. We started the book club in April, a couple of friends of mine, because we all live far away from each other. We started with the series Divine Rivals. It was my pick because I had the books and I was like, well, I'm going to be reading these. Like, and they're like, yeah, let's read those. It follows 2 characters, the main character being Iris and another character being Roman. It's in the time of like the war, and while this is going on, they also have a magical element to this series, so it is kind of fantasy, with like the gods being involved. This war is like the gods like trying to take over. Iris and Roman are working for a newspaper, and they are like competing for the same position. It follows a love story. I loved it. I rated it a 4.5, even though the 2nd book like was pissing me off, I'm not gonna lie. I did really enjoy those books. Then we move into a different book. I read I'm Glad My Mom Died. This book is definitely a 5 stars. I listened to it as an audiobook. It's by Jeanette McCurdy. She talks all about her life, like in general, like starting as a child actor, working for Nickelodeon. Definitely, if you're gonna read this book, or if you haven't read this book, trigger warnings, definitely look up. I think there's a lot of like touchy subjects that might be triggering for some people for sure, but it was a phenomenal read. This book, I didn't realize I would like this book so much, and I liked it even better as an audiobook because it was Jeanette telling her story, and it was so emotional. Very much enjoyed this book. Definitely go give it a read. We're in May. I don't think I said this, but we are in May. I read 5 books in May. We're back to the romance, okay? Funny Story by Emily Henry. This 5++++. I loved this book. Guys, I don't know what made me love it like so much, but it is one of my favorite romance books of the entire year, and one of my favorite books in general. I think this is one of those books that I would just like recommend if someone's like, what should I read? And I'm like, do you like romance? And they say yes. So it follows this main character named Daphne, and she is engaged to a man named Peter. Daphne follows her amazing, lovely fiance all the way to his hometown in Michigan. She is not from there, but she follows him there. Peter decided that he fell in love with his childhood best friend Petra, so he runs off to be with this woman. So Peter asks Daphne to move out of this house, and while she's like packing her things and crying and all these things, Petra's ex, Miles, shows up at the house looking for Petra because he just found out about this too, them running off together. So he asks if she needs anything, and basically Daphne's like, yeah, I actually need a place to live. And she ends up moving in with Miles. Funny story, right? What do we think happens? It is so good. I love a story based in a small town. I am from a small town, and like if someone wrote a book about my small town, it would have to be amazing. Daphne's a librarian, so it just like follows her story as a librarian about like her making friends in this town, even though she like just got dumped. Another 5-star read just for the summer. 5 stars. I don't know what it is about romance in the summer, but like is one of my favorite genres to read, and it just feels so right. So basically how it starts is this guy named Justin. He has a curse. Every woman he dates, as soon as they break up, they find their soulmate. Same thing happens to this girl named Emma. So Justin posts this thing, am I the asshole type thing, and Emma's friend reads her this funny post that this guy named Justin posted, this am I the asshole thing. So basically Emma ends up sliding into Justin's DM to be like, hey, here's my response to your am I the asshole post. Really fun story, very much summer vibe. Then I read This Summer Will Be Different by Carly Fortune. I rated it a 4-star. This story is based in Canada, which is so fun because all of her books are based like in Canada. Still East Coast vibe, so it's always like a summer feel good when I read her books. So the book follows a girl named Lucy. She and her best friend decide to have a trip back to her best friend's house on Prince Edward Island. It's like a summer trip, and her best friend flew into town later than she did. So Lucy arrives in town first, and she ends up meeting this like oyster shucker at a restaurant. They hit it off, and lo and behold, this is actually her best friend's brother. I rated it a 4 stars, not because I didn't love the book. I actually did really enjoy it. I have this thing, personally, this is a me thing, with past and present writing. I don't know why I have like such a hard time with it. Actually, I'm changing my rating to 4.5. Usually I hate it. I don't know why, I just don't like it. But this book I actually did really enjoy. It wasn't too bad. Like I have trouble jumping between the back and forth, like the past and present. I really enjoyed it, but it wasn't like my favorite like funny story or just for the summer, but it was like pretty close. The next book is a book club book as well. If He Had Been With Me, and then the second book, If Only I Had Told Her. I feel bad giving it a 4, but like 3.7. These books in my head should have been combined. Here's the thing, I give them a few extra points and make it a 4-star because it is young adult. So again, it's my fault where I'm like, oh, this is kind of boring. It's young adult. You know, if I was in high school reading this, I would have been all over these books. And it follows a girl named Autumn and her best friend from childhood named Finny. They are neighbors, their mothers are best friends, and it takes you through all like the high school years where they were like best friends growing up, and then as they got older they stopped being friends. They ended up going into like separate friend groups. It does start out with Finny's death. I still think you should read it. It's not as if I didn't like it, but it was very young. Those nostalgic high school like ways of thinking and feeling very much present in this book series. I do think that those 2 books should have been 1 book. I think I would have loved to have the characters back and forth point of view, like a 2 point of view, because the first book follows Autumn all the way through, and the second book follows Finny, and then Finny's best friend, and then Autumn again. I didn't love that about the books. I think I would have loved to see Finny's point of view the whole way through. Wasn't my favorite. I don't really regret reading books. Like, not my favorite, but I'm glad I read it kind of thing. All right, guys, we are into the last 2 books. 5-star read for me. The Nightngale. It's a historical fiction book. It follows these 2 sisters. One is like helping the war. One is surviving the war. This one was emotional. This is a 5-star read for me. I never think I'm gonna enjoy reading historical fiction until I do. I didn't know what this book was about when I went into it, and I fell in love with it. So it's so heartbreaking between war and like just the way people were treated during the war, bravery, and how people were like trying to escape France, and even just like surviving all those years that like Germany was in France. So sad, but they both end up being incredible like heroes at the end of the story, and it was like, I want to get emotional just talking about this book. This one was so good. One of my favorite books that I've ever read. Go read it. And then the last book, Swan Song by Ellen Hildebrand. I give it a 4.5. All her books are based on Nantucket, and as a New England girly, I love her books. In her books, there's always like some kind of love story and some kind of mystery. Always. They're always trying to solve some kind of crime that happened on the island, on the small Nantucket island where nothing ever happens. Things are happening. In this specific one, someone does go missing, and they're trying to figure out how she went missing. They're trying to find her. This girl is working for these really rich people that just moved to Nantucket as like their in-house like personal assistant type thing. She's helping with all their parties. She's running their errands. Her name is Coco, and that is how like the story goes. Yeah, I rated it a 4.5. It wasn't my favorite. I think it wasn't, there were certain points that I just like missed from her other books. Like it was not heavy enough on the romance, and I feel like even like the mystery part of it wasn't too on the edge of my seat kind of vibe like it usually is. Overall, loved all the books that I read. Like overall, I really enjoyed all the books that I read at the beginning of this year. So I will link all these books down below. If you have any book recommendations, please leave them in the comments. I need books going into the next few months. But I really did enjoy pretty much all the books I read. There were a few tweaks I would have made on some of them, but like I am no author. I am just a consumer, just a reader, a girl who loves books. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Definitely different from what I normally do. I feel like I should be like saying more things, but like this book is just the books I read at the beginning of this year. Definitely comment some books down below. The next book videos will have more genres in them, and I'm thinking maybe I split it up by genre. Let me know what you want in the comments. With that, I'm gonna go finish my coffee. I'm going to get back to the book I am reading. I've also been reading on my Kindle. I toss between my Kindle and like a physical book copy. Didn't realize how much I love my Kindle. Also have to shout out the Kindle, okay? I got like the cheaper Kindle, the like $99 Kindle. I will link it down below. I got it as a present for my birthday. I love it. I thought I would hate it, but it's not like reading on like your phone or an iPad because there's no blue light, so it just feels like you're reading a book. You don't have like the physical pages, but one thing I do notice that I am really good at not doing on the Kindle is skipping ahead, because I'm a skimmer when I read a physical book. I'm like always looking at the next page or like flipping to see if I can like see what's happening next, because I just like can't wait. On the Kindle, I don't do that, so I do like that about the Kindle. So I'll link this down below, and I'm going to end this video right here. For a book video, I think this is getting pretty long. So like I said, comment some book recommendations down below. Comment a little book emoji and like a coffee emoji or a wine emoji, or like, actually comment below in emojis your favorite setting to read your book. Is it like when you're in bed with a book and a glass of wine? Is it outside, like, or is it at the beach? Like comment below in emojis like how you like to read and like your favorite setting. I will see you all in the next, well, book video, but also just the next video. Love you all. Bye.